guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Ashers, and this is...
Pedo.
And also...
V, hey guys.
Oh my gosh, guys, V's back. I know everybody's so excited. Everybody really likes our episodes together.
I heard. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. We always tend to do it too, back kind of back to back. You're on, and then I'm on yours, and what have you. But guys, this is V from Life Paranormal with V. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Good. We're good. Pat, how was your weekend?
Very uneventful. I
Same.
didn't do anything that cool. I wish I had a better story. I watched Shin Godzilla. I did do that.
Oh, that's right. And what did you think?
I absolutely loved it. We watched it Friday night, and
I told you.
yeah, I mean, your recommendation was way more spot on than my friend that, like I said last episode, she kind of described it as Godzilla meets versus paperwork or something. And I get why that is kind of like the tagline for that movie, because it does deal with like the government's how a functioning government really would respond to a Godzilla type crisis, with like the different meetings and subcommittees, and how the bureaucracy would handle a kaiju. But it was really good. I mean, outside of that, I thought it was really funny. The creature design when he first comes out, and he's got those googly eyes, and he's just like that slug.
Yeah,
was really good. I have to say, it was probably like the best Godzilla movie I've ever seen, which doesn't say much, but it was incredibly solid. So I watched that on Friday, and then me and my kid watched Can't Hardly Wait on Saturday.
Nice.
yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. His godfather sends him like these random movies sometimes, and like a couple weeks ago it was Outside Providence, which I don't know if you guys have seen that one before.
Nah.
No, I've never heard that one.
It's incredibly, I know you guys are in your fucking 30s. I hate you. But so we watched that a couple weeks ago, and that was pretty good. And then this week we did Can't Hardly Wait, and he kept asking me like, Dad, which one were you in high school? Which one would you be?
Oh, nice.
And I was like, we wouldn't be at this party. We would have been like at a basement show or something. Or, we would have had our own party, until finally there's this scene where like Jennifer Love Hewitt walks out of the party, and there's some guy in the background with a 12-pack on an empty 12-pack container on his head that he turned into like a knight's helmet.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, that would have been me.
That's awesome. I love that movie.
Can't Hardly Wait. That was like that's like one of my like one of my nostalgic movies right there.
Yeah.
One of my good friends, we used to watch that movie over and over. We could quote it. I mean, probably.
Yeah, it reminds you of being in 5th grade.
Yeah, it does. As gross as that is, it does.
Yeah.
True good story. Lee, how was your weekend?
It was good. I was busy just catching up with homework, and I was really sick that last week, but it was good. It was a good weekend.
Good. Well, good. I'm glad everybody had good weekends. I want to give a very exciting update, and I know that the listeners are going to be so excited about this. Well, maybe not. I'm probably more excited about it than anybody. But I know that our good friend, Dr. Reverend Crimson Nicholas, is going to be fucking ecstatic. I did it, Pat. I purchased my salvation for the low price of $35.
Congratulations.
V, are you familiar with the Church of the Subgenius?
No. Please do tell.
We did a whole episode on it. It's this, I don't know, it's this weird religion. And for anybody else that doesn't know, we like I said, we covered it. And it's a religion that's not a religion, and it's based around a salesman. And you just pay $35 and you get eternal salvation and your own pleasure craft and all kinds of other weird stuff. I don't know, but I did it.
You must have had $35 burn a fucking hole in your pocket. Did you sell a pair of panties on Sophia Gray or something? Where did you? Where did you come up with this $35 all of a sudden that you just could not spend fast enough that you threw it away on that shit? And I say this as I browse online Reiki healing master classes for $22.99. So I just want to know.
Well, I have my ways, but yes, I couldn't wait. I was so excited. But I did. I purchased it. I cannot wait for it to get here. Apparently, you get your certification. I think you actually like legit become ordained when you because it is technically it is a religion. It's classified as a religion. So
how do you spell it? I'm trying to look it up on Google.
Are you? It's Church of the Subgenius. Or as V says, the subgenius.
Genius. Oh my God.
But yeah, I did it. I purchased it. When it gets here, I'll update you guys next week. I'll let you know what comes with my certification, and I'll let you know what I'm capable of doing now. So, you can book me for your what do you do? What can you do if you're ordained? You can marry people. What else can you do?
I would think marrying people would be the biggest cash grab.
Probably. I think I can like speak at your grandpa's funeral or something. I mean, I'll do that.
Yeah, but that's not gonna. I mean, weddings you can. If you can marry somebody, that's what I think you would get the most use out of it with.
Well, I'll do it. I will do it, and I will do it cosplayed as Poison Ivy if you'd like. But I will.
You know what even more valuable is if you could figure out a way to like hand out divorces. That's what someone needs to like come up with a tax exempt religion that allows you to do that. Then you'd really fucking clean up.
You're right. I will do that also. I will break up with your people for you. I will hand over the papers if that's what it takes. Whatever, guys. I really need to make this $35 back, so please email me. But
Sophia Gray.
Oh, God. So I can't tell you guys yet. God damn it. It's okay. Anne and I are working on this great investigation involving Bigfoot. And it does involve purchasing panties off the internet. One of these days I will tell you about it. I'm sorry to reel you in and take it away, but yeah, coming soon. So anyway, I don't have too many news updates this week. I haven't heard anything yet about that Bigfoot thumb. I don't know what's going on there.
Okay.
So I guess the results aren't in yet. But I did read an article about. So apparently there is this robot dog that was just invented.
Huh.
It was invented by Boston Dynamics, and this dog will deliver you beer.
Ooh.
It can also sense that you have an empty cup, and you can put your cup on the ground, and it will urinate into the cup to refill it with beer. And, in case you didn't know that you needed that in your life.
That's too easy. I'm just gonna fucking keep my mouth shut.
Apparently it doesn't work very well. It misses the cup a lot, so that's a thing. And then it's beer piss puddle. It falls in it. It like slips and slides in it. So, but for $75,000, I mean, it's even cheaper than your eternal salvation. Or I'm sorry, it's even more expensive than your eternal salvation. So, you guys should probably go purchase your Church of the Subgenius ordainment.
I'm looking it up right now.
He's on top of it. She's like, I can't wait to spend $35.
I just want to see what it's all about.
It's pretty wild stuff.
Nice.
So we've been talking about drugs, right? You guys know. We've been doing this whole drug talk. We had our first. Oh.
In honor of my birthday at the beginning of the month.
Yes.
April's meta topic has been drug use.
It has. So. It's been Pat's month, and it's all about drugs. Fitting. What's my month going to be about, guys? What should we do?
Ooh. Let me think.
That's a good question. I don't know. I guess we'll find out when we get there. But so this month we've been talking about drugs. We had the first episode, right, where we talked about just kind of personal experiences that Pat and I both had with drugs. Yeah. I told my fun Mothman story.
Heard that.
And then we did MK Ultra, where the government was utilizing drugs in order to kind of create. It's a movie, Pat. What's it called? What were they trying to create? I can't
Little
remember.
super soldiers.
Mhm.
Basically, super soldiers.
Mhm.
Yeah. Super assassins. With the use of drugs and things like that.
Mhm.
Did you drop?
But you know, right now we have we have V here.
Mhm.
So I thought that we would probably get more into talking about drugs and
Yay. Mhm.
spirituality.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, I don't know. V, do you have any experience with drugs and spirituality?
Well, yeah, I do. Probably the first time I had, I ate edibles before, but I went all out on this, specific day, and had me about 2 brownies, and I was tripping balls. Uh, I had like the most spiritual experience though. It was pretty crazy. Like at first, like I had never tripped that bad before, but I was like, sorry, I got, I was on my bed, but it like turned into like a boat. It was like little
Okay.
dinghies, and I felt like I was in the ocean. And I remember all of a sudden, my husband was like, "Just lay down, like you're making this more than it should be." I'm like, "No, I'm in the ocean." He's like, "Just lay the fuck down." So I lay back on the bed, and I used to have like these little lights, like these skull lights, because I decorate my home like it's Halloween all the time. So this was at our old house, so I had these specific lights, and the little skulls were like they started to like dance and come to life in this specific trip I had, and I was like, whoa. But then all of a sudden I started it went from there. A lot of other stuff happened, but I can say that I started to have like almost like I was in other dimensions. I know it sounds really weird. You guys are probably, who the fuck is she?
Oh, we're
She's
used to
such a
this.
weird-
Trust me.
No,
This fits right in.
yeah, like I was literally tripping out, but it was like a good trip. Like I just went with it, and I was in different dimensions, going in different places, and the colors and everything was just amazing. It felt like very peaceful, and I had a little bit of premonition during one of it, and it actually did come true. It was something pretty devastating in my life, but because of that, I pretty much am who I am today because of it. And it was really, I'd say, traumatic, and it just changed my whole world. It went upside down after that, but like I said, it was crazy how during that whole thing, I saw it happening before it did. Not that I'm not used to it being a clairvoyant and everything, but it was like I was living it all the way through. So it's kind of like I knew the outcome, and I knew everything was going to be okay, but that I had to like trust everything while I was there, going through it and living through it. So yeah, I think that was I really do want to try ayahuasca. That's something like I really want to do someday. So
I think I said that in the last. Maybe I didn't say it in the last episode. Maybe I was just thinking it. Or I'm sorry, the drugs episode.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, I agree. I kind of want to try it also, but I'm a little scared.
Yeah, I used to be, but now I'm like, I think I'm in a better place in my life where I feel like I can mentally handle it. So I don't know. I think it's
That's
just,
true.
mhm,
That's a good point.
yeah,
Well, Pat, you've done this previously as kind of a spiritual. You do it kind of as like a spiritual thing. Is
yeah,
that's correct?
That's what all mine were.
yeah.
And I think that that's how I came to all of them
Hmm.
was foolishly or not expecting some kind of like great download or like walking away from it with insight.
Hmm.
And definitely that happens sometimes, and I'm about to tell you a story where it did, but there's also plenty of times where it didn't, and I spent half the party hiding in the closet waiting for it to be over. So I mean it was always a roll of the dice. But we so I don't know, somebody had heard in my group of friends, and this is back unfortunately like 20 years ago, but somebody had heard that if you bought a box of sucrets and melted it down in like a pot of water, and then made tea out of it and then drank the tea, that you would trip really hard. You guys ever heard that?
What
No.
is? I don't even know. What did you say? Sucrets?
Yeah, they're like cough drops.
Ah,
Oh,
I've
okay.
never
And
heard that, but I have heard of like robo tripping.
well, that's how I'm getting to the robo trip story.
Okay.
So we had heard this, and I had a guy that I was in a band with who was really fucking really big druggie, and he was like, yeah, man, you make Sucrets tea, and we made Sucrets tea, but they changed the recipe; it doesn't work anymore. But I guess this was a thing that used to be able to do for the longest time is eat a bunch of Sucrets and fucking trip your face off. And but they changed the recipe, you couldn't do it anymore. So then he was like, yeah, but I heard if you drink a bottle of cough syrup, you do the same thing. It's called robo tripping, and you got to make sure you get Robitussin DM or XM or something, because you want the Robitussin with dextrometamorphin hydrobromide in it, which is DXM, right? And unfortunately, not DMX. God rest in peace, who we lost this week. And so we of course we tried this, right? And let me tell you, it works. It works really, really well. And what it does is it gets your brain to release like serotonin while you're awake. So you kind of start dreaming while you're awake. And the first time I did it, like I just kind of did it straight, and it was a little bit of a rough ride. I got real jittery and like real like I don't like this, And then subsequent times, people like we had kind of talked about it. My other friends had tried it, and it was like, well, if you try it, you smoke a little pot, it's a little bit better. Like it's a little bit more mellow of a ride. So I did that, and it was like an afternoon. I was out of high school, but it was at my buddy's house, and we were chilling in his basement. We went to Walgreens, we got the Robitussin, we came back, we drank it, we smoked pot, we're sitting on his couch. He's on one couch, I'm on the other, and we would just lay there, and you would close your eyes, and it was like an out of body experience. It was like you completely visualized yourself going to like other places and doing things and all this crazy shit. And I don't know, I'm not going to claim that it was astral projection or anything like that, but it was one of the most vivid. And also knowing biologically what was happening in my brain, it was basically hemorrhaging and releasing all these chemicals that it should not have been releasing at that time. I mean, I get what was happening, but like it was one of the most vivid, surreal experiences of my life. And it started out with me like leaving my body, and I just remember kind of like floating around and going into this house where there was like a family sitting down to eat dinner, and they looked up at me and they started freaking out because they saw me and they were like, oh my God. And I just remember the kids screaming and the parents like coming around by the kids, and the dad standing up and being like, ah. And then I started to like leave, and I was gone. And then I went and I was somewhere else, and like I was like underground, but like there was all this lava and like rocks and stuff. And I wouldn't say it was like the stereotypical hellscape no, but it wasn't like that. But it was like the planet that from like Revenge of the Sith, where like Anakin gets his legs cut off and shit. Like it's a lava planet. I don't know. You know what I mean? And there was these creatures that were like working, like mining this like the cliffs, like the mountains and stuff. And they were like they had like kind of like power drills, but like they had these weird like kind of suits on and stuff, and like I was like, what the fuck is that? And this thing looked up at me and it tried to grab me, and I was like, oh. And then like I got out of there, and then I just remember like kind of floating around and being in this basement of this place, and I was like, this looks so familiar. And it was and I'm like kind of floating around, and I'm like, why do I feel like I've been here before? And and then around the corner walks this old man with a flashlight, and he sees me, and he starts like freaking out and praying, and then boom, I was back in my body, and I was like back on the couch in Marionette Park in this basement on a Tuesday afternoon, and I was like, oh shit. And I talked to my buddy, and I'm like, are you okay? And he's like, oh, I'm real fucked up. And like I sat up, and like that was it. After that, I wasn't trying to go anywhere else,
Mhm.
right? Like I was like, okay, I'm just gonna kind of ride this thing out. And what I remembered after the fact was that basement that I was in about 2 years earlier. I had a job working downtown, and I worked with this old guy, and he was on he worked like the 3 to 11 shift, and I worked 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So our shifts overlapped. And this guy was like this old, like kind of crazy, reminded you of Kramer from Seinfeld, like like just this weird old guy. And one day, me and him were talking, and I remember him telling me 2 years prior how he's like, yeah, this place gets real creepy at night. He's like, this one time I was walking around the boiler room, and I saw these demon eyes. There was these demon eyes there, and they were looking right at me. And I said, don't you come near me. And I said the Hail Mary, and he went away. And I was like, okay. And I remember hearing this like in the past and being like, fucking whatever, like crazy old dude, and being like mildly interested, because a lot of buildings are kind of haunted, and like when you're building high rises, like people die, iron workers fall off all the time, or people get fucking crushed in elevator pits. Any high rise building has usually a couple bodies associated with it. So the idea that like the basement of this place could be haunted, this office building that we worked in, wasn't out of the question. But his story didn't necessarily seem that legit, and he seemed like kind of a wacko, so I didn't pay him much
Mhm.
mind. But after my experience in the basement that afternoon, I was like, that was the guy that I remembered
Holy
seeing.
shit.
Yeah, and I thought, and now this is me being a storyteller and connecting the dots after the
Mhm.
fact, but I kind of like retconned it in my head as like, oh, maybe you went back and that was you that you saw,
Oh,
or
wow.
I just happened to
Yeah,
remember that
that's so.
story when he told me 2 years ago, and my subconscious somehow
Sort it.
added
Mhm.
it to the trip. But that seems even more far fetched to me,
Mhm.
because that when he told me that story at that time, it had no consequence to
Yeah.
me. You know what I mean? I was just like, whatever, dude. All right, you know.
Yeah. That
So
Wow,
is.
so how long does that last? Those trips on DXM? I've never.
unfortunately, a really long time, like an
Oh,
entire party.
oh,
Like,
really?
yeah, if you show up at a party at like 8 o'clock at night and like drink it, like you'll be done drinking it probably by 9:30, 10 o'clock. It'll kick in by midnight, and you'll be up at 4 o'clock in the morning, like shaking and acting like a fucking weirdo and creeping everybody out. But if you mix it with pot, it can be a completely different animal, and it's way more trancy.
Ooh.
Mhm.
At least it was for me. Where like I think my body, like you don't all that energy that you have, you kind of
Mhm.
like it changes your
Yeah, it
vibrations,
does.
and you can kind of like I feel like you can harness it a little bit better, and you can kind of go
Mhm.
with it.
I
You
don't know.
know,
We probably shouldn't be instructing the listeners how to
I'm
take
not telling
the.
people to do anything. Fucking that ain't instructing. It says it right on the bottle. If you have a cough, drink it. I didn't say whatever. Drink as much as you want. But I will say that that was a long time
Mhm.
ago, and
That's
for
true.
all I know, they've changed the chemical
Yeah.
makeup, and it
Mhm.
doesn't work
Mhm.
anymore. I don't know.
I think it's still a thing. I mean, you know what? You guys are adults. I hope anyway. Anybody that's listening to this show should be an adult, and you can make your own decisions. But they can be really
Yeah,
scary. So be
exactly. Be
careful.
careful.
V, have you ever done
No,
DXM?
I haven't. I haven't. But I'm no. I'm like. I'm so intrigued by Pat's story. Like I was like living through it when he was saying it. It was gnarly. I feel like it was like an out of body experience, because that was like very much like mine. I felt like I was very much out of my body, and I like time did not exist. I was either in the future or going back into time. It was very. I mean, and I could see myself not being transported, but I was, man, it was like going through tunnels of light, and they were colorful, and I would go into one place and then I'd go into another, and I'd see different scenes, and
Yeah,
it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. I remember at one point I could see like the planets. So I don't know if I don't know. It was the most it was amazing. I just wrote it through too, it I think that there's points of the trip where you're very much aware, and you're like Pat, like you can remember those things, but I know I was seeing other things. I just don't remember it. There's
Yeah, I've had that kind of experience before. Like I can't really I know, but I don't know, and I don't know how to explain that to people unless they've been through it. It's just it's one of those things. But it could definitely. I mean, I've never had like any type of big like spiritual connections or any type of big breakthroughs while I've
Yeah.
done all of the drugs that I've done. However, it definitely sticks with you,
Yeah.
right? And like as somebody that's struggled with mental health my entire life, I mean, the next 3 months of my life are amazing afterwards. It
Yeah.
always works. I mean, if you're really feeling bad, I mean, go take some drugs and you'll feel better. I mean,
Mine were a little bit more like I said from. See, this is where I don't care if like people hear this and or like I don't think I personally feel like I'm being too encouraging, because I always preface every story with like a bunch of, it was usually pretty negative. Like I don't feel like I'm glamorizing this stuff at all, because it was a roll of the dice, man, and the bad stuff is bad and the good stuff is good though. But yeah, I was a wreck when I was, this was all from like a very specific phase in my life that lasted like maybe I don't know, 2 to 4 years, and I wasn't in a good place during any of it. My emotions were all over the place. I was a roller coaster, and it wasn't until I stopped and I felt like it was something that I had to go through though. And once I was done with it and I was able to kind of put all the pieces back together, I found that I was a much stronger, much saner person than I was when I started. But it was definitely a trial by fire, and I definitely needed to basically take everything apart, remove the things that didn't work, and then put it all back together again. And it was a fucking process, one that I'm glad I did. Ultimately, the whole thing was beneficial, but at the time, it was not. None of it was good. One more story I'm going to throw in real quick, and then I'd love to hear you guys get some feedback on it. So, with mushrooms like that was a whole thing that we went through for a while, and that was probably my first experience with anything harder than marijuana or alcohol was mushrooms, and the first time I did it was kind of there wasn't too much that happened. We were in my parents' old house in your typical wood paneled Midwestern basement, watching probably a fucking The Wall or something. And I mean, literally like the Pink Floyd movie, The Wall, but also The Wall, because it was wood paneled. So you would see like the wood stains swim, and that's, infinitely entertaining. And some of my friends came over that weren't on mushrooms, and they decided to fuck with us by putting me in the box, which is like where you make a box with your hands and then pretend like you're putting the box over somebody's head. And like everyone in the room is talking, but when the box goes over your head, everybody stops speaking but still moves their mouth. Like you can't hear them because your head's in the box. And then they'll pretend to take the box off your head and everyone starts speaking loud again. I hang out with like fucking weirdo theater improv kids. So this was like an exercise, you know what I mean? And like, so they start doing this to me and I'm like, am I in the box? Am I not in the box? Why are you guys fucking with me? And they're like, we're not fucking with you, dude. You're in the box. Like we put you in the box. That's why you couldn't hear anything. And I'm like looking at everybody like, what are they doing? And I got so worked up that I fucking puked all over the place. Which, like, when you're on mushrooms, if you've ever done them before, is like a 50-50 chance it's going to happen anyway, because you just ate something that grew out of cow shit. So like you already have an upset tummy, and like this kind of like badgery didn't help. But I just remember like after that happened, like it felt like my whole entire like soul had been scrubbed clean, and I felt so much better than I'd ever felt in my whole entire life. And it was like this beautifully sublime moment. And I remember going upstairs and being away from everybody and like just putting my hand forward. I was in the kitchen, and I remember this like it was yesterday. I put my hand forward and like everything around me rippled. It was like if I was standing in front of a pool, like a reflecting pool or something, but everything was the reflecting pool, and I touched it and I kind of felt it give a little bit, and I realized this isn't fucking real. And like I took a step back and I was like, oh shit. And then I immediately started to come down. and I started to feel depressed because I knew that my trip was ending. And unfortunately, everyone around me was still tripping balls because they didn't throw up. And the rest of the night was kind of depressing because I was like, what the fuck just happened? Like, I got to a point where I saw, or I was on the edge of understanding something, and then it slipped away, and I need to get back there. And I feel like I spent like a couple years trying to get back there. And that was with me like just doing more and more shit. And it didn't necessarily work. I didn't get there. And then I realized that you can't just, it's like you can't just like take drugs to get you there. Like they can show you where the door is, but they're not going to open it for you and walk you through it. There's a certain amount of effort you have to put in yourself, and I was just trying to do the same thing. I was trying to let the drugs do all the work, and it didn't fucking happen. But yeah, there was a very I don't know, it was that, I would say that was the beginning of another phase of my life. Was seeing, even if you want to play the realist and say that this was all just my senses being altered because of the psilocybin and none of this, there was no greater metaphysical meaning to any of this, still just having my senses altered to that degree and realizing the malleability of reality, I think, was such a fucking just eye-opener in general. My mind definitely expanded that night a little bit, and it was good.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's a really beautiful experience. It can be. But it can also be a really bad experience. So, you guys just have to be mindful of those things. And, like Pat says, it can open the door for you, but yeah, it definitely can't walk you through it. I mean, you have to put the time in and the effort. You can't expect. Yeah, I think that's where the issue of like addiction comes in, is that people are self-medicating and they're expecting that, they're going to feel better, and the drugs are going to work to make them feel better, and it just doesn't. That's not how it is. You're going to feel better when you're in a better place, and being in a better place is inward as much as it is outward, and you have to work to get there. So
and I feel like in Pat's sense, it wasn't like to take away the pain, it was to figure out some of life's questions. Like, I felt like it was more spiritual in a sense, and like I could definitely feel like you were so close to something and it just wasn't time, and it was for a reason, like you were saying. It was like you were so close, but at that time, maybe it was to figure out yourself that, a lot of people say, and that's what I believe, that the universe is inside of us, and that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And it was like that for like, someone in my life who had an addiction. I was with them when I was younger, but from what I understood with him, it was not to have a spiritual experience. It was to like not feel any of the pain that he was going through or all the traumas that he had in his life. But yeah, I think there's like a difference why some people do,
there definitely is. I mean, it just depends on, what people are going through and what have you. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, using mind altering things. We talked a lot about perception and how that's what these hallucinogens do, is that they don't change the world around you. They just change how you see it and experience it. And, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with getting that different perspective, ever. But, of course, when you are, when it gets bad, and when it gets bad, you recognize it. There comes one point in time where you're doing all these drugs and you stop and you go, wait a minute, this is bad. This has gotten bad. And, when it gets to that point, get help, guys. Don't throw your life away for drugs, even though psychedelics aren't really addictive. But just in general, I mean, you can self-medicate with food. I mean, all kinds of things. So
can we talk about addiction real quick? I wanted to bring something up with V, actually.
Absolutely.
So I started smoking when I was like 14, and smoked pretty much my whole entire life. And then recently, about 3-4 years ago, my kids started pressuring me to stop smoking. So I had tried numerous times throughout my whole entire life. I had tried the patch, which did we talk about taking the patch when you go to sleep? No, that was okay. That's something else. Yeah, you want to have real fucked up dreams? Take the patch and then go to bed, because the patch releases nicotine in your system consistently, right? So, but when you sleep, you're not smoking cigarettes, right? Obviously. But if you go to sleep wearing a patch, you will have the fucking craziest dreams of your life.
What are you dreaming
That's something I legitimately invite every listener to go do. Go to Walgreens, buy the 3 milligram patches, slap one on your fucking leg, and go to bed. And then keep a notebook by your bed and wake up and write down everything. You don't even need to keep the notebook by your head because you're going to remember this shit. Because I can remember every single fucking dream I had when I fell asleep wearing the patch. And they were all heartbreaking. They were emotional. You're dreaming about exes and shit. It's going to be a fucking... It'll be worth it though. And it's a really cheap trip. So it's and legal. So it's worth looking at. But anyway, so I tried everything to fucking quit smoking. Didn't work. And my kids were putting all this pressure on me. I started meditating. I started using like the Headspace app and doing daily guided meditations. And I was able to quit smoking. And now I would still smoke when I drank every once in a while. But I got the ability to pick it up and put it down. And once again, just recently, I'd say like probably around February, I started smoking again, and smoked pretty consistently for like February and March, like a pack every 2 days, like right back where I left off. And my kids were like, "You got to stop smoking again." And I was like, "Eh." And my son goes like, "Why don't you just start meditating? That's how you quit last time." And I was like, "All right." So I got back into it again, and now I haven't had a cigarette in over a week, and I don't even care, And I feel like my workaround for addiction, and granted, I know that it's different with everybody, is that, addiction is something that gets in your head, and it's an obsessive thought. I need this, I want this. And what meditation does is it helps you kind of take a step back from that and be like, well, hold on, just take a deep breath.
You get out of your head and more aligned with, like, people call it your soul or your inner spirit. But yeah, that's what, that gives me the chills, because I've been trying to get my husband to stop smoking, and he doesn't want to try the patch, but I'm kind of done with that. But like you said, everybody's different. So maybe we'll have to try whatever we can with them, because I'm done with that. So.
I think that's
because it's just, we have 2 boys, and just the thought of anything happening to him right now or someday,
Right. Yeah, I know. That's what I was getting to. And well, women can be very persuasive.
Oh, I can be. And I can be.
I mean, kids can be too. Like, Daddy, stop smoking. That works. But there's
Oh,
But so that's kind of why I wanted to bring up the Reiki thing too. Like, I know you had mentioned that briefly the first time you were on with Asher's, that was something that you were involved in. And so that I never really got I did some research because I knew you were coming back on. But like, that was something I feel like I know it's been around for like centuries, but that kind of became popular like in the late 2000s, where it popped up on my radar at least. And I mean, could you just, like, how did you get involved with that?
Totally. You know what, I had it done on me, and it's crazy because, like, I don't say like I'm a Reiki practitioner or a master. I don't even do Reiki. Like, I feel like when I started all of this journey, I started with my Peruvian shaman, and it's actually her who told me, like, hey, you're gonna try ayahuasca, and I actually highly recommend it, and I actually see you taking this someday. But no, I started more getting into my Native American roots. My family lineage is Yaqui, the Yaqui Indians, or Native Americans, sorry. So I really stuck to that, and a lot of the teachings that I have learned are in that form. So yeah, it's a lot of energy, but it's a mostly spiritual work. So, with my clients, what I used, still do, I had to close my practice. Obviously, I do distance healing from time to time on people that, are my friends and that I'm close to. But on my clients, I would really incorporate more of the shaman side to it, more of a spiritual sense. So, and not that Reiki isn't, because I know people do have a lot of spiritual experiences. I went to a Reiki master one time, and it was very amazing, but I didn't get the full benefit like I wanted. So it's really going in and healing a lot of past traumas, past pains, helping the client release from them. And very much, I don't have to take a trip to channel and, I don't call it tripping out. Like definitely when I'm channeling someone's situation, I'm also able to communicate with spirits since I was a little girl. So I'm able to be in between, different dimensions and the spirit world and our world. So it's not like I'm unaccustomed to it. It's just when I'm able to be in that place and I'm giving someone that spiritual healing and I'm giving them guidance, I'm speaking one-on-one to their, if you want to call it their higher self, the subconscious is what I feel, that higher self. You very much get out of your conscious state and into a state of, more alignment. And that's what meditation is about too. You're becoming more aligned with your true self, your natural energies, and balancing them out naturally. So that's what I do. I try to bring more balance. And what I say is like, I'm definitely facilitating the healing, but the healing really comes from the person themselves. It's the openness to it. And I feel that many of us have the ability, actually all of us do have the ability to heal ourselves. But no one can do it for us. It has to start with with ourselves first. But
yeah. One word that I didn't hear you say there that I would almost attribute to like the whole thing you were talking about is
totally.
like empathy.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah, and like being like an empath and being able to just connect with other people and kind of understand and feel what they're going through. And that's something that like, I don't know, I feel that a lot of what I go through in life is colored
you
by
feel
that.
others' emotions.
And the fact that I'm very,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and it can use it a couple different ways. I mean, you can use it when you walk in a room and you can read the room and you can be like,
Oh, yeah.
what the fuck is this? Or sometimes it's like, oh, this is where this person's at right now, and if I want them to go over here, I just got to nudge them. You can use it for manipulation, or you can use it to like not get your ass kicked. Or I was just talking to my son about this today, about like how, because we're both really tall, and I'm like, short people are going to try to kick the shit out of you when you get older. Just a heads up. And he was like, but they're littler than you. I'm like, I know, but they're fucking crazy. And they like to try to fight big people, and it's just the way the world works. I'm like, he's like, so what happened? Did you have to beat up a bunch of short guys? I'm like, no, you learn to talk your way out of it. Anyway, so like going to the empathy thing, like, yeah, it's like all of this, like the connecting with other people or trying to get better, knowing, even just being empathetic towards yourself to where you can recognize your own emotions, you can recognize these, destructive thoughts, and then just manipulate them. I don't know.
No, I understand. I think that's why, like when I was telling you, I went through that trip, like it's been a path of like 7 years now, and it's been so amazing. And I do feel like those who suffer a lot and have been through a lot have the most compassion. And, being, younger, a little girl, I wasn't sure what I was feeling, all these, and then being a teenager and having, depression and self-harm and all of that, and trying to commit suicide like 2 times. I didn't realize that all of that was not mine, and I barely got into really realizing, what energy work was and like clairvoyance and everything. I wasn't really keen on it, but, you're right, Pat. Like I'm able to stop myself. I see when I'm feeling or thinking a certain way, and even with everybody in my life, it doesn't have to be clients. Like I know right away, what they're going through, but I also I've learned to not, tune in. It's kind of like, I think I told Ashers this one time, or I don't remember, but it's like going into somebody's house uninvited. So I don't like to channel people, or, I think it's not like I'm like some other clairvoyants or mediums who go up to people who are like, oh, I have something to tell you. I respect people in that way, but there's sometimes obviously where I have to say something, but I do it very kindly, and I don't want to sound like I'm such a badass. But yeah, I've been able to talk my way out of so much shit just because I've been able to read that person, and it's been really helpful, and it's gotten me out of a lot of bad situations, in careers and relationships where I've just listened to that and felt the situation or felt the person, I'm just like, okay, so it's very good.
Well, yeah, a lot of times it's like something that you develop
Yeah.
from childhood because you realize like when it's time to like go in the other room because
Yeah,
people are
exactly.
fighting, or when someone comes home from work
They're
and
in a
you're like,
bad
oh,
mood.
they're in a bad mood. I'm gonna go just gonna yeah, and that's kind of where it starts. And then so you develop this skill
Mhm.
early on almost as like a
Oh,
self-defense
oh yeah.
mechanism. And then you get on you then you get older and you realize, oh, I can use this for this and I
Yeah.
can use this for that. And suddenly you develop, it's like a muscle that you consistently work out
Yeah.
more and more and more until you get to the point where like you just become very good at manipulating
Yeah.
people.
Hmm. No, it's
Sorry.
fine.
So that's all I'm going to
Yeah,
say about that for
we've
right now.
definitely. I mean, we've talked about it a lot. Actually, kind of just going back to like V and like what she does. I'll say it because she won't, because she's good at her job and she's good at the consent thing. But I will be doing sessions with V very
Okay.
shortly. So I'm excited because I want to tell you guys how how it works and what it does, because I've never done
Yeah.
anything like that before. But we've kind of just discussed navigating my own depression and things like that, and how now in hindsight, now that I know what I know about certain things, I look back and I wonder, how much of that was actually my emotions that I was feeling. And even to this day, people knew I had a rough weekend. How much of that was mine to carry? Was it even mine at all? It can be really confusing when you're kind of gifted that kind of I don't want to say extra sensory, but I guess that's really what it is, when you're
Hmm.
gifted that. But I don't think there's anything wrong with using it in certain situations, just like how you can kind of just like Pat was saying, you can kind
Yeah.
of read the
Mhm.
room. You can do that with people. There's certain, when people are lying to you, there are certain physical cues that you can look for to tell that they're lying. I mean, it's pretty much the
Yeah.
same thing. Without actually, penetrating trying to really get into their head, as long as you're not using it for bad. I mean, sometimes you
Yeah.
really
There's a
can't
lot of
help
people
it
who
that
use,
people
yeah, sorry to
people.
interrupt, but there's a lot of people who use it for bad. So,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah, that was me in my 20s. I mean, everybody had a good time. And nobody got hurt, and I never misrepresented myself. Let me just put it like that. Everyone knew
Tell them you
exactly
did.
what they were
yeah.
getting into, and I am not the talented Mr. Ripley. I did not con these people. They
Yeah.
Yeah.
knew what they were doing.
So
I'm
now,
sorry.
crackhead Frank's probably listening to this episode. Like, I fucking knew it.
No, I think I'm talking more of like intention and manifestation, because definitely with my work, and I do my own type of like solitary thing, ashers, I just practice
Yeah.
certain things by myself, and I'm very solitary in that practice. But like, there's a lot of evil people who do ill will on others, and it's like, man, that the power of manifestation and intent, dude, that's just like, that's another thing we can talk about one day. But yeah, it's
Oh yeah, it's a big one. Well, and I mean, that's how I practice. I've had this person asking me a lot of magic questions
mm,
lately, and I don't get into. I really don't. I don't get into like the
yeah.
cultures and things like that.
Who's
I'm
this?
eclectic.
What are they asking you?
I can't say their name, but they're just
Oh,
I don't want to put anybody on
Yeah.
blast or anything. But he's just been asking me a lot of questions about like my history with it, saying that he has certain goals and things that he wants to meet with his
Mhm.
magical journey. But he's like asking me all kinds. Like he asked me if I have what my magic name
Huh.
is, and I'm like, I don't have like
I don't either.
I
Yeah.
don't have a magic name.
so
Yeah,
can we talk about magic real quick?
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
so when it was funny earlier this week, you were like, "Oh, send me a link to like your podcast, and I'll retweet it or whatever." And I went and I found the podcast I was on, like 3 podcasts before, because I'm a middle-aged white man, so I've been podcasting for a very long time.
That's
Um,
kind of your job, right?
yeah, exactly. And I had done like a 2.5 hour interview with a dude that was a
Ooh.
Freemason, but he was also a a teacher with like the OTO, and he was like super into like all this stuff. And me and him and I knew him from, we used to play in punk bands together back in like our early 20s, and I didn't know any of this shit about him at the time because he wasn't very forthcoming about it. And it wasn't until like 10 years later that I'm looking at the shit he's posted on Facebook and stuff, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my god,
Mhm.
you know and we sat down and we had this long talk, and we got progressively drunker because we did the whole thing at a bar. And and I never listened to the whole thing because I just kind of recorded the interview and then I put it up online and that was that. And I'm listening to the shit this guy's talking about with like just about like the different schools of magic and like all this stuff and like the Freemasons, and he was saying some shit though. I'm like, I don't think you should be fucking talking about that. But which goes to show no one listens to any. Obviously, no one listened to that episode because you know, he's still alive. But it was just crazy that I was like, man, I had this much information like made available to me like a couple years ago. I never did anything with it, and like re-listening to that interview, it totally made me want to go check out the place that that he was teaching classes at the time, and just kind of pop in because I like visiting those bookstores and stuff. There's a couple there's a Reiki healing place right down the street from my house.
Yeah.
And then there's another like metaphysical. They call them like metaphysical bookstores.
Metaphysical,
Like
yeah.
But yeah. So
Yeah, we have a couple of them here. We've got this really amazing town here called Yellow Springs, and Dave Chappelle's from there. I don't know if anybody knows who that is. He's
Of course, yeah,
famous.
love him.
But yeah. So, but anyway, it's a little teeny tiny town. It's called Yellow Springs, and it's kind of just like the hippie, witchy, stoner kind of, you know, cool place. And you know, they have a bunch of stuff there too. But being also in Dayton, Ohio, we have a couple of shops here as well. It is not, you know, really honestly, like just going into one of those stores, you just feel
so good. Yeah.
fresh. You feel so cleansed. Right. I mean, you walk out, you know, and you're just like, wow, I just spent like $100 on rocks, but I feel
Dude, I would just go in there when I was having a shitty day and I just like walk around. I'm like, oh, I feel so much better. There's only like, yeah.
It is.
And there's good stores and there's bad stores. Like there's been some where I just walk out of, I'm like, I don't like the energy in here. Like, you know, I have my go-to place here where I just chill.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we've got, I mean, we've got some of those, you know, but yeah, for the most part, I mean, you just go in and you're just like, wow, this is, I feel cool, you know, and so it is nice to just kind of go in and, you know, especially with our places, we have a lot of really friendly people that run ours. So, you know, it's nice because if you have questions about things, I'm more than happy to help. But yeah, I mean, you know, magic's just one of those things. I've been that person going to a quote unquote, you know, coven and doing a big ritual, and everybody just kind of sits there and pretends to know what they're doing, and nobody really knows what they're doing, and nothing really happens. But you know, the way that I practice, I'm eclectic. I just kind of whatever resonates with me. If I find something new, because I'm always reading about different things, whatever resonates with me, I take it with me, and I figure there's a reason for it. You know, there's got to be a reason why I'm called to this for whatever reason. So I don't follow. You know, I don't know what the fuck a magic name is. I'm sorry. If that's disrespectful to anybody, I'm not trying to be.
what?
Yeah.
I would think it's like, don't you get to pick your name in the order? It sounds like it's very like old school ceremonial.
It sounds very D&D to me.
No, D&D is way cooler than that.
At least you're honest. I mean, it sounds weird. I don't know. I'm not sure how it works. I don't feel the need to rename myself. So I don't know. But you know, certain people are just, they get, I don't know, like this character, I think he kind of takes a little too far personally, but I don't know. But my main source of magic is intention and manifestation. You know, because I know there's a science to it. I mean, so for me, and I'm very logical, I'm very science, you know, based. And I think that, you know, sometimes science and spirituality go hand in hand. And I think that's one of the situations. So, but that's
and you know, to tell you, Ashers, like, I know, like for me, I think it's like the magical name, it's kind of like what you're known by, like the spirits and like the different types of, you know, whatever you worship or whatnot, and in your coven, and then also like what you're known as in the public, and then what you're known in like the spirit world or something, you know. That's just how I've known it to be. Yeah.
So my magical name is Ashers. Is that what?
Yeah, I mean, basically it's your screen name. No, think about it. It's you get to pick your own name, persona, nom de plume, whatever you want to say it, and just look at it like that.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you weren't given one. You tried, but we all took that away from you. I'm sorry.
Well, that's how chaotic I am. Is that I have multiple shifting identities that I cycle through. That way, I can be someone different every day.
It's gonna be a new one next week.
Well, I mean, there's more
Yeah,
power in that because you're not confined. Everything's malleable, so it's like
Yeah.
I'm in full control over my
exactly.
personality and I'm getting way too like
Deep with
getting.
it.
Yes, no. I just can't decide on a fucking screen name. Twitter handle. That's exactly what this is. But I mean, if you want to get all woo woo with it, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the other reason too. Is that
You can though. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about having
Oh
having
yeah,
free
that's
will
exactly what I
and
was gonna
whatnot.
say.
You
I think
just
it's
choose. I used to go to
mhm.
parties, and I used to go to this one party at my back to drugs at my old apartment, and it was like somebody that lived in the basement, and I lived on the top floor, and I met them just in passing outside, and I used to show up there, and I told them that I was a trans woman, that I'm really a man. I was born. My name was Ashton, and I guess I didn't realize how probably
oh,
transphobic that might seem at the
Mhm.
time or
Yeah,
now, but that's what I did just because I
yeah,
could, just because these people didn't know me. I could be whoever I
yeah.
wanted to be.
your boobs
Um,
are too big.
then I
Like that's not realistic.
no, and everybody bought it, and I slept with one of the guys,
Mhm.
and obviously found out pretty quickly that I
Well,
was so but it's just an example. Like I said, you can be literally
Yeah.
be whoever you want to be.
I
It's up to
think
you.
didn't I
Can't
post that the
control
other
it.
day? I'm like, I'm everything and anything that I want to be because I'm always changing. I'm like, you know what I mean? That's just my personality and who I
Right.
am. I don't like to be just like one thing or one person.
And we did kind of talk about that. And you know what? I kind of do want to touch on this for a minute. I don't want to get too far into it. I definitely, V, I don't want you to share anything you don't want to. But let's kind of talk about like you just experienced in the past week the kind of bad people can be even on
Yeah.
social media. Do you kind of want to give a condensed version of maybe what happened
Yeah.
and kind of what's going
Yeah,
on
it's
with you?
just people still acting divided in this world, and there can be no unification because they're so set on their beliefs, whether they got brought up by it or it's something that they chose to do because it makes them feel safe. But it's people commenting on like how I look, and what I choose to do. And I knew I'm like, fuck them, but they were like incessant, like just like over and over. And I'm just like, okay, I'm tired telling these people off. So I like made it known. I'm just like, if you keep fucking with me, like this is what's going to happen. And I don't want to really say what I said because they pretty
That's
much
okay.
know who they are and they know their little listeners. And it's like stupid. Like I never, even in high school, like I got along with everybody. And it didn't really matter. I wouldn't say like I was popular because I knew everybody and I talked to everybody. I treated people with fucking respect. And it's just lacking, you know what I mean? There's no human compassion anymore. There's no love for anybody. And I knew it was going to happen. And it's just like on Twitter or on social media, you
Yeah.
just have to grow some fucking thick skin. But, with my mental health and everything, and, we've talked about it on my show and on, just with each other, I'm not afraid to say, that I have PTSD and bipolar 2 and I have anxiety and everything. But,
Right.
you know, I, I wasn't going through a good time because, they increased my meds and, just emotionally, I was just like, fuck this. It started triggering stuff to like being extremely bullied in middle school. I wasn't raised in a really good part of town anyways. And back in the 90s, it was like, Crips and Bloods and like, it was just really bad. And my school was horrible. It was the one where you had to like pass through metal detectors and shit. And, it was like really bad. So, it was like I was just getting tired defending myself. But, you know, at the end of the day, like I just am who I am. If I want to post whatever I want to post and dress how I want to dress, makeup or no makeup, like I don't care. And even if I'm self conscious enough not to post myself without makeup, that's my choice. We just can't keep telling each other what to be, what to think, and that's what I hate about
Yeah.
like debating and shit. Cause it's like you don't get anywhere. You're just so entrenched in your own beliefs. That person is more entrenched in their beliefs at the end of the debate. And it's kind of like you don't get anywhere with it. At the end of the day, yeah, you just agree to disagree and just be like, okay, well, you fucking believe in what you want to, and it's not going to change my mind anyway. So,
Yeah, I've had a very, I mean, well, I haven't told you this yet, but I've had kind of a very similar discriminatory experience. Not exactly the same. It wasn't quite as
when?
personal. But being, and Pat knows, because Pat and I have also talked about this kind of off record. But being in this field, you get a lot of pushback from a lot of different people, right? So I was on a live stream the other day, and somebody was saying that Netflix was a bunch of Satan worshippers and they're trying to infect the world with
Hmm.
Satan. And I was just like, well, that's not right to say, because Satanists like
Yeah.
aren't bad
Yeah.
people, like, believe it or not. And I like to bring up, there's a statistic that I do like to bring up, and that's that 28% of the world's population is Christian. Only 28% of the population is Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't see that a lot because we're in America, so obviously we're very heavily Christian over here. But me being a witch, when I hear evil and I hear about black magic and all this scary stuff, obviously, like, yes, I take offense to that because I'm not a bad evil person,
Mm-hmm.
and so and not just that, I mean, just people get so caught up in the drama. And there's been I've seen it happening everywhere lately with these kind of strange
Mm-hmm.
communities. And at the end of the day, guys, aren't we all just kind of here to learn a little bit more about the
Yeah.
world and maybe
It's
advance
like a
it further?
personal
Isn't that
decision,
so?
dude, too. Like they want to stay in that state of mind of fear, which is like, it's a choice. Some people, it keeps them safe, but
Right.
like for me, and like I told them, even when I messaged them back, I'm like, dude, you're just on a different level than I am right now in your life and on your journey. So what you're saying doesn't even
Yeah.
like impact me. You know what I mean? It's just getting annoying. Like stop
Right.
fucking messaging me.
Right. Right. Well, yeah, and we know, I mean, as strong women, we know, it's a reflection on
I
them, not on
know.
you, but I still think that it's really important to hold
Yeah.
these people
Yeah.
accountable, as much as we can, because otherwise they'll never
Yeah,
learn if we
exactly.
don't. But I'm gonna be that person. Somebody that I work with has currently been caught up in drama, and I'm not going to do that here. And I just wanted to make this, I guess, the official announcement that at the end of the day, I'm here to investigate. I'm here to find the truth
Yeah.
about certain things. And that's kind of what I stand for. And like what Pat says, it's really silly to get into arguments about like what a Mothman is, because we really don't fucking
Mhm.
know, or we wouldn't have to, try to find it. So,
Yeah.
but that was that was my soapbox
Yeah.
for a minute. So I hope you guys enjoyed that.
Do I get to get up there?
Yeah, go ahead, Pat. You please.
um, I this is something that I'm gonna relate this to a very specific situation that happened when I was younger. Um, you know, I I didn't get we got bullied in high school, me and my friends as a group, because we were like
Yeah.
the punk rock kids. But I went to an all boy high
Mm.
school, where we all wore like shirts and ties to school every day. So like, yeah, there was jocks and there was people that kind of would fuck with us, but it was
Mm.
never that bad. And I realized that like those guys all liked each other because they were on the football team together. They weren't
Mm.
really friends. Me and my group of friends, we were much more tighter knit. We all knew each other's families. We all went to each other's houses and hung out and were friends with each other's siblings and shit like that. We were closer, and I think I valued the friendship that I had, even though I was technically an
Mhm.
outsider. We were, if you looked at the numbers, we were actually more in the majority,
Yeah.
because counterculture was becoming big back then, and it
Yeah.
wasn't just the punk kids. It was the punk kids and the ravers and the industrial kids, and we all kind of, and the theater kids, and we
Yeah.
all just hung together and shit. um but I knew girls that went to like the all girls high schools, and they had bigger issues with bullying
Mm.
than we did. And because girls are
Fucking
fucking evil.
evil. Yeah,
Yes,
you
dude.
they
know
are.
yeah. And I would hear the stories about what these girls would go through, and I'd be like, oh my god, like at least like if some dude punches me, like I punch
And
him
then it's
back and then it's
over. Yeah.
over. Like
Mhm.
girls will antagonize each other until somebody tries to commit suicide or something, and it's like fucking insane. So I knew this one girl that like was very not popular in high school at
Mhm.
all. um wasn't like a total recluse, but just wasn't Regina King, right? And she gets out of high school and finds her little like social group, and finds a group of girls to hang out with, and then suddenly becomes
Yeah.
Regina King.
Yeah, dude.
and and realizes that like, okay, well, now the dynamic shifted, and like those girls from high school, they've gone and moved on, and they're out of the picture. But she's kind of cool, and she's got a couple girlfriends, and she was associated with our
Mhm.
band. So like she like there would always be like girls coming around, and someone would be sleeping with somebody, or someone met someone online or whatever, and she was like a mean girl, and she'd be really mean to the new girls when they came around and pour drinks on their head and do all this shit. And I'm like, I know for a fact that you used to get fucking bullied to tears in high school, and now the first opportunity you have to be in a position of power over someone else, you're going to put them through what you went through. And it's like, I know, I mean, I never picked on freshmen as a senior in high school. That was the furthest thing from my fucking head. That story that I told about doing the fucking robo trip, I was in the basement of a kid that was a freshman when I was a junior, and we're like still friends to this day. He was at my 40th birthday party. Like, I never fucked with the underclassmen. And it's not that I didn't get fucked with as an underclassman. I just realized, well, this cycle's going to fucking stop with me. I'm not going to perpetuate this shit anymore. Some people don't feel like that, though. Some people get hurt, and the only thing they can think to do is then they feel like that's licensed to hurt other people now. And some people get hurt, and they say, well, that fucking sucked. And then just kind of move on with their lives, and they don't feel this, like, crazy need for abstract revenge against people that had nothing to do with what happened to you in the first place. You know, like, it'd be one thing if like you fucked with these girls and now they had the upper hand and they were fucking with you back. But that's not what happened. You know what I mean? It's just it's a murder of mean girls.
Basically they're just mean to be mean just because they feel like they can, and it's like, wow.
Exactly. And I did that. Like, I wasn't bullying other people. I was actually in my 20s, like, until I had my kid, you know, my first child. I was pretty much, I was projecting all that anger and like that I had, like, I wish I would have stayed. But, you know, you don't stand up to these people, you know, like in my middle school, like, it was what I wish I would have done, but I would have got shot, or, you know, I got jumped one time so bad, you know, these 5 girls jumped me and they held my head. You know, they closed an industrial door on my head, dude, like those big heavy metal fucking doors. And I passed the fuck out. I had a really bad brain injury, obviously, from it. But you just don't say anything, you know, and I blamed it on these two. Oh God, I blamed it on these 2 kids that were there, dude. Like, they were just like really nice kids, but I wasn't going to really say who did it, you know. But I grew up with like so much hate and anger that, like, in my 20s, like, I was fighting a lot, but it was against those kind of people. Like, if I was out with my friends and some girl started shit, like, I was just like all over her, and it was just like projecting all of that, you know what I mean? And that's when I really got into my spirituality, and I knew I had to really change, because that's when I met my shaman, and she even told me, like, there's all this anger in you, like, that's all I see, but it's not yours, like, that's not who you really are. And like, fuck, I get fucking emotional talking about it, because like, I wouldn't be in this place. Like, I'd probably be in jail, or I probably wouldn't be here because of all the fucking shit I went through with that. And I think that's why it triggered me recently, because I'm just like, why do you have to be such assholes? You know what I mean? And like Pat said, like, you can take that and you can do something with it that's better, and you can stop that. You can stop that cycle. But it's like, people just want to hurt others on purpose. But like I said, I wasn't doing it to hurt somebody. Like, I wasn't picking the fights. Like, I was protecting people from the bullies, you know. But yeah, that's just...
Yeah. And you get to a certain age where you hope that you're past it. You're like, I didn't think I'd have to deal with this shit ever again. And here I am dealing with it.
Then you meet that one asshole.
Yeah, because I'm 33 and I'm just like, yeah, no. And I just laugh at that dude. I walk away. My spiritual practice has taught me how to be so chill. Like, people today would be like, I don't know if anybody's going to listen to the show that I know, but they're going to be like, what? Like, I can't picture you like that, because I'm literally so chill, and, you know, I'm not like that at all now. That was in my early 20s, you know, early 20s. So I don't.
Well, I'm having I'm sorry, I'm going to switch gears for just a second, because this is so crazy. I'm having a really weird experience at this moment.
Yeah, because I was carrying stuff in the back of my room, so I know it's not my dog. He's right here.
Oh, I'm so excited. So you guys remember, I mean, I just told this story on the show during the drug episode. You remember I told you guys I ate the edible and I saw
in the corner of the room,
right?
Or in the top, yeah.
Somebody's messaging me right now saying that they just saw yesterday. They're in Atlantic City. They ate an edible and they saw it outside. Yeah, they saw it flying outside.
Huh.
Isn't it wild? It's just, what are the odds of that? I mean, I guess it could be somebody that is from the from, listens to the show,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess. But no, but this person, actually, I told them to message me. I found them in a Mothman sightings Facebook group, and they just relayed their story. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're just on drugs," and I'm like, "Oh no, this has happened to me." So I reached out to them first, but they're messaging me their story right now, and I don't know, I'm
That's so
excited
cool.
about it. What do you guys think that
I don't know, but
means?
that's so weird because when we
And
started talking about Mothman, some shit was happening to us. Remember, like it was weird.
yes, during the
Yeah.
whole
So as
episode,
you
yeah.
were probably getting that message, I swear to God, I was hearing something in the back of my fucking house in one of the rooms. So that was pretty
It's,
gnarly.
well,
So,
it's always
yeah.
happening. Well, and I don't know, you guys can't see this, but when V was coming on the show, and Pat was here, and we were kind of watching you, and your name pops up, right? We can see everybody's name that's in the show. So V's name is popping up, but there was also a fourth person just listed as guest, and it would kind of pop in and out for a second, and then it kind of left. It was weird.
Yeah, I bring shit with me. Yeah.
And so that always tends to happen. I'm sorry, I got excited because I just saw the message pop up, and I'm like, oh my God, I think this is, because at first, like, you'll have these people that'll claim that they have these sightings and things like that, and you'll be like, oh, get a hold of me, and then you never hear anything from them, and you're like, okay, well, maybe they're not ready, maybe they're not real, but now that I have this.
If the edible he took was like recreational, like actually from a dispensary, ask him the brand name, because that's one hell of an endorsement right there.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, like I had a dog walker edible, and I saw the fucking Mothman. Those things will be flying off.
Yes. Oh God, I love it.
We have been trying to push these sponsors lately, haven't we?
I'm telling you, I'm trying to find different ways to fucking,
We gotta make that.
keep you girls off Sophia Gray.
That's right.
I love how that gets a laugh every time I fucking say that name.
It is.
I might
Yeah,
do
no.
it. I don't know. Well, I need the money. Like I said, $35. I just wasted it on a piece of fucking paper that means nothing. I need the help.
See, and you can make that money back and get out of doing laundry today.
Nice.
That's gross, but also a really good idea.
I'm not saying. I'm just the facilitator here. I'm not your
That's on there
customer
right
base.
now, scrolling through all of them, like, which one do I want?
No. Absolutely fucking not.
Well, anyway, so yeah, I wanted to share that bit of information. I'm always excited to have you on. I'm excited to listen again to this episode. I know that I don't think Dyson, have we established how to say his name yet? I know
Dyson, yeah.
It's
Dyson, he told me it's Dyson.
That's what I thought it was. Me and V have been talking about this forever.
Him. He's so awesome. No, he hasn't. I don't think he hasn't gotten back to me, but a lot of other people have been like, no, dude, I hear someone like talking and then someone right over it, but then like, yeah, it's just weird.
Yeah. I'm really excited. I can't wait. Dyson does a really good job. He's got his own show called what's that channel called? It's a podcast, and you guys should definitely check him out. But he's been scrubbing the episodes for EVPs, and he's been such a big help with it.
He says some stuff yours on this podcast of yours. Yeah.
Oh yeah. He's found a lot of things. I've been kind of cataloging it. I don't know. Maybe one day when we have enough hours put into it, maybe that'll be my vacation week, as we just release all the EVPs as one episode.
Hey, that's a good fucking idea.
Wouldn't that be wild? That'd be really freaky.
We'll do the clip show.
Yeah, just do a clip show. It's just EVPs.
I just hate the part when he's like, "Yeah, I found one." When they're like, "Hi, Vanessa," and it's like, "Fuck!" I was like, "Don't tell me. I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go back and listen to it." I already feel them, and I have this, this thing with the spirit world where I do create some boundaries where I'm just like, don't. I'll communicate with you when I'm ready, But there's times when.
Don't invade my privacy. That's just rude. I mean, come on. That's I agree. They can stay from a distance. They can stay on the show if they want to, but they need to stay out of my room, my bathroom specifically.
Man, that's a scary story right there. Your little orange goblin thing. That's.
Yeah. I mean, it's still happening. So
what? Okay, off the show, you're gonna have to tell me about that.
I will. I will. I don't have enough yet to bring to you guys, but I think we are gonna do like an actual like investigation. We're probably gonna do like a spirit box
Oh God.
session in my bedroom. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I just haven't decided how to present it to the
Yeah.
audience yet. Maybe I'll live stream it. I don't know. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Well, my next guest, dude, my
But
next episode's gonna be freaking scary. I mean, I recorded last night with him, and I was like, oh my God, even me, it chilled me. I was like, ooh, I'll never look at pandas again the same way, and you're gonna know why. Like, if you listen to this episode, you're gonna be like, what the fuck? It's so creepy.
well, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody where can everybody find you at?
Yeah, that's a good tease. Yeah, I mean, I'd listen anyway, but now I'm
Noise.
definitely gonna
Yeah,
listen.
it's Life Paranormal with V. You can find it on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, which is my major platform. So you can also follow me on Twitter at V Life Paranormal. I post a lot of updates there when I'm dropping new episodes. But you know, if you're interested also in coming on the show and sharing your story, or just DMing me, you know, your story, I use, you know, really caution if you don't want to use your first name also. So it's great. It's a good time. You gotta stop in for the party. So it's a little party, spooky party.
DMs are open.
I told you, Ashers, if I start talking and I start getting ridiculous, stop me. Because
No, you're fine. You're supposed to do that on this show, so it's that's the point of it. No, I guys, I love V so much. I'm sure you guys have seen us interact together. V and I have a lot of we have a lot to work out. We have a lot to figure out together, right? Because this has just been a very special kind of relationship that we've had
been great.
here. And there's definitely something to it. So I'm really excited. One of these days we're gonna like go investigate and stuff.
Oh, it's gonna happen. I foresee it, dude.
Exactly. But I've been on Visha. I've been on 3 of her episodes now. I will be on it again in the future, you know, so just definitely check it out if you guys want more Ashers and so but I don't think I have anything else to add. Does anybody have any closing statements?
I had fun.
No, good.
You had fun.
Let's do this some more. Like, it's, you know, I don't really interact with people during this time a lot, you know, because of, you know, fucking cool. Nice, like meeting with friends, you know, like just talking, shoot the shit.
Oh, but well, yeah, definitely. I mean, absolutely, we'll do it again. Then, guys, well, we will be back next Wednesday. I think we're gonna have a really exciting series of episodes still to continue. So if you guys are enjoying this, you know, let us know. Rate us on the Apple Podcast situation, and we'll see you guys next Wednesday.